So in the previous lesson, I showed you how to create your equities watch list, focusing on the 11 major sectors within the equities market and the ETFs that fit within them. Spider ETFs, Vanguard ETFs, the two major ones. That watch list that we talked about is great, and you can use it for day trading, you can use it for swing trading, and that's all that you really need, right? However, there's a different type of watch list creation that you can do. Obviously, we have thousands and hundreds of companies within the equities market, right? The watches that we did before that was just focusing on a few ETFs within the 11 major sectors. You can go deeper into the industries and so on, as I mentioned in that lesson. But obviously, we also have hundreds and thousands of different companies within the equities market in the US alone, right? Imagine the world. So what we can do is we can utilize various scans, various pre-built scans that all the charting providers and brokerage providers also offer, right? eSignal has its own scans that I can use. TradingView also has its own scans, and the brokers also have scans that we can utilize that actually filter down from hundreds of companies down to a few based on pre-built criteria that you can either create yourself, right? Or that is already pre-built within the software itself. So with that said, this watch list creation is great for day traders. It can also be utilized for swing traders, right? But it's something that you would do every single day to find opportunities. So that said, let's have a look. So this watch list creation is a little bit different, right? Before we created a list of ETFs by ourselves. This is when we're utilizing these scans, these pre-built scans or scans that we have created ourselves, right? They are updated every single minute, every single day, and they change, from many different companies. They just jump on because they fit the criteria within that specific scan, so it's something great to utilize on a day-to-day basis. So that's it. Let's have a look on TradingView, just because I know a bunch of you will be using TradingView for your charting provider. But again, eSignal has these scans built into them. Brokerage providers have also these scans built into them. But when we look at TradingView, the thing that we're going to be talking about is this hot list on the right? So when you click on this hot list, you're going to have 3 different scans that you can customize yourself, right? Mine are based on US exchanges, but if you click on this little box right there, you'll notice that again, you have every single exchange all around the world, everything from South Korea and Sweden to India, Germany, and so on, Canada. I focus again on major US exchanges, and the scan that you mainly want to be focusing on is volume gainer. So I'm going to click that, right? And you can customize these ones as well. So, I can go to Canada as an example, the TSX, and focus on volume gainers, right? I can go also to India if I want, or any other sector or country, and actually pick that exchange. But what I mainly focus on is volume gainers, percent change gainers, and percent change losers. So these 2 bottom ones I have set as percent change gainers and percent change losers. So it shows me which stocks have had a major volume increase within that day, within that period, typically in a day. Which stocks had the largest percent change gain and percent change loss, okay? This gives me a list of many stocks, right, that have been filtered down from a massive list, right? So percent or the volume gainers, that's the one that I typically focus on the most personally. That's the one you'll probably focus on the most, simply because within the stock market, there's going to be companies that are pretty slow. They're not really doing much until volume picks up. And when volume picks up, all of a sudden they'll end up on this volume gainers list. And what happens when volume picks up? There was either massive buying or massive selling, right? So if there was massive buying, chances are, and if the company was in a bearish trend and all of a sudden there was massive buying, we have some kind of a breakout happening. So every single strategy could potentially fit into that, from an ABO to an IBO to a CBO to an ACB, and potentially phase line breaks, right? And other times it might be slow in a bearish trend, volume picks up and it falls to the downside, massive selling. And that's just a continuation of the trend. So there might not be much there except potentially phase line breaks. So with that said, when we look at the chart here, again, we have a list. Here we have AMD as on the top, Advanced Micro Dynamics, chip provider, right? And volume gain is just popping to the upside over the last week or so, right? So you can do a scan like this to find opportunities. Here we have a volume gain to the downside off of extreme highs. There might be something going on here, right? Over the next couple days, there might be a short off of these major highs if it actually rejects it. So that's something to look out for, right? And we continue like this until we find some opportunities that actually potentially fit some strategies. Uber looks like it's decelerating, right? It might have a bullish pop to the upside. So that's something to, again, keep an eye out on, right? And then we can continue until something, again, really stands out that really fits your analysis and fits your criteria. This might be presenting for a pullback, so there might be some quick day trade opportunities there. And you move on, right? And you continue going until something really stands out. So that's one way to make your watch list, right? It's something that changes every single day based on volume increases, volume gainers, right? And when we get that volume gain, typically something's going on, right? The company's hot and people are either buying it or selling it. There's either breakouts or continuations, and I like to focus on those breakouts, right? Now, another way to, once you get a little bit more advanced, you can go to the stock screener here that TradingView provides. And again, most major charting providers also offer some sort of a screener that you can, that's already pre-built, right? The one that you mainly be focusing on is the hot list. It's the simplest. It will filter out based on volume, which is great, you know. But if you want to go a little bit deeper into research and analysis, you can use these stock screeners. And you can do many things, you know, from these scans are already pre-built. And to be honest, I don't use them that much. But from overview to performance to extended hours, so there was massive moves in extended hour periods or so on. Valuation, so you can actually do some valuations on different companies and so on. Income statements, so this is actual research. You can search Apple. Hold on. It's a ticker symbol for Apple. There we go. Nothing comes up then. Let's toss something else in here. AMD. So it looks like I have some kind of a filter that filters these out. I'm focusing on ETFs. So there it is. You know, I'm focusing on different stocks. So let's just put all of it. See if it populates now. Still doesn't. So I probably set some things up within the filters myself. But again, you know, I don't use this a lot. I don't use TradingView. I use eSignal myself. But you can use this to do more in-depth research, you know, more in-depth scans. You can even go to these filters and create various scans yourself based on all these different technical, fundamental, or descriptive filters. Pretty much everything's in here, you know, so you can customize it pretty heavily if you want. And you can make it very precise as well based on different technical indicators and so on. So you can make yourself pre-built scans. And this is obviously going a little bit more advanced, right? The hot list is what I recommend for beginners, and for most traders, it's the easiest. You just make a quick watch list, and utilizing MasterClass strategies, that's really all that you need. But if you want to go deeper into research and create yourself some pre-built scans, or like utilize some of these pre-built scans, or actually build some yourself based on different indicators and so on, you can do that using these stock screeners and so on. So that is it. This is watch list creation part 2. Again, the main part of this watch list is the volume gainer section of the hot list, right? Because that tells us what has actually increased in volume that specific day. And a lot of times we will have some breakouts that could present some IBOs, some CBOs, and some ACBs opportunities, and potentially some phase-on breaks, maybe some ABOs, right? So that's typically what I would focus on myself. And if, like I said, if you want to go deeper, you can go into some of these stock screeners and actually utilize some of these pre-built screeners to do your research and analysis, or even build some yourself. But that is going a little bit more advanced. And to tell you the truth, As a normal day trader or a swing trader, you don't really need this. All you really have is there. And within the previous watch list lesson that I showed you, focusing on the sectors and industries and the actual ETFs that fall within them, that is my favorite watch list to utilize. But this is great for day traders, potentially swing traders as well. That is it for this lesson. This is Watchlist Creation Part 2, focusing on the equities market. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Take care.